These are the weirdest deaths of famous music artists, and the last one is so weird it could literally make you pee in your pants. First is Liam Payne. On October 16, 2024, 31-year-old Liam Payne checked into the Casa Sur Palermo Hotel in Buenos Aires, Argentina. The former One Direction member had been in Argentina attending a concert by his former bandmate, Niall Horan. That afternoon, hotel staff became increasingly concerned about Payne's behavior in his third-floor room. Around 5 p.m., the hotel manager placed an urgent call to emergency services. In the recorded 911 call, the manager frantically reported that a guest was overwhelmed by drugs and alcohol and was destroying the room. The manager specifically expressed fear because the room had a balcony. Just minutes after that call, at approximately 5:07 p.m., a loud crash was heard in the hotel's interior courtyard. Liam Payne had fallen from his third-floor balcony. He landed in the courtyard below. Emergency responders arrived within minutes, but Payne was pronounced dead at the scene from multiple traumatic injuries sustained in the fall. When police entered Payne's hotel room, they found a chaotic scene. The television had been smashed. Aluminum foil, white powder, and drug paraphernalia were scattered around the room. A half-drunk glass of champagne sat on a table. The room showed clear signs of a struggle or violent episode. Investigators determined that Payne had been alone in the room when he fell. Toxicology reports would later reveal the presence of multiple substances in his system. The exact circumstances of how he went over the balcony remained under investigation. The death shocked the music world. One Direction had been one of the biggest pop groups of the 2000s, and Payne had millions of fans worldwide. Payne's former bandmates issued statements expressing their devastation. The hotel balcony fall became one of the most discussed celebrity deaths in recent years, raising questions about hotel safety protocols and the dangers faced by celebrities struggling with substance abuse. Next is Oliver Tree. On the morning of June 14, 2026, at around 9 a.m., Tree was traveling aboard a helicopter over the Rocinha favela district of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. At approximately 300 feet in the air, his aircraft collided with another helicopter mid-air. His helicopter spiraled out of control before plunging toward the ground. After the collision, the aircraft crashed into the parking lot of an electric car dealership. The impact triggered a massive fire that spread through at least 20 vehicles, sending thick black smoke into the sky. All 6 people aboard the 2 helicopters were killed. Tree was traveling with director Lucas Viñal, Argentine YouTuber Gaspar Prim, music producer Lucas Brit Chavez, and pilot Alexander Souza. The second helicopter was flown solely by pilot Charles Marciac. Authorities later launched an investigation into the cause of the collision. Unidentified passengers were attempting to jump from the aircraft moments before it crashed and burst into flames. In the weeks before his death, Tree had spoken openly about his will, revealing that his fortune would go to a foundation supporting young artists called Dr. Oliver Tree's Art Grants for Baby Geniuses. Just one day before the crash, Tree posted a cheerful video documenting his time in Brazil. Because of his pranks and publicity stunts, many fans initially believed reports of his death were a joke. Tragically, this time it was real. Next is Michael Jackson. On June 25, 2009, 50-year-old Michael Jackson was at his rented mansion in Los Angeles, preparing for his This Is It comeback concert tour. Jackson had been struggling with insomnia for years and had employed his personal physician, Dr. Conrad Murray, to help him sleep. Around 12 p.m., Jackson was in his bedroom receiving his daily treatment. Murray was administering propofol, a powerful anesthetic used in surgical procedures, through an intravenous drip. Jackson called it his milk because of its milky white appearance. This wasn't a sleeping pill. Propofol is what anesthesiologists use to render patients unconscious for surgery. Murray had been giving Jackson nightly propofol infusions for weeks so he could sleep. That day, after administering the propofol and other sedatives, Murray left Jackson alone in the bedroom to make phone calls. When he returned, Jackson wasn't breathing. Murray began CPR and called for help, but precious minutes had been lost. Paramedics arrived and transported Jackson to UCLA Medical Center. Doctors worked for over an hour trying to revive him. Michael Jackson was pronounced dead at 2:26 p.m. from cardiac arrest caused by acute propofol intoxication. The news broke online and literally crashed the internet. Twitter, Wikipedia, and AOL Instant Messenger all experienced outages as millions tried to access information simultaneously. Dr. Conrad Murray was later convicted of involuntary manslaughter for administering propofol in a home setting without proper monitoring equipment. Jackson's death revealed the extreme lengths he had gone to in pursuit of sleep, essentially undergoing surgery every night in his bedroom. Next is Avicii, whose real name was Tim Bergling, was a Swedish DJ, producer, and songwriter who rose to international fame in the early 2000s as one of the leading figures in electronic dance music. Avicii was beloved for his ability to blend uplifting melodies with emotional depth, helping to bring EDM into mainstream pop culture. However, on April 20th, 2018, Avicii was found dead in Muscat, Oman, while on vacation. His family later confirmed that he had died by suicide, indicating that he had been struggling with his mental health for a long time. Avicii's death was a devastating blow to the music world and highlighted the unseen emotional toll that fame can have on artists. Tributes poured in from fans and fellow musicians, and his passing sparked important conversations about mental health in the entertainment industry. In 2019, his family launched the Tim Bergling Foundation to support mental health awareness, with his legacy continuing not only through his music but also through the movement he inspired. Next is Christina Grimmie. On June 10, 2016, 22-year-old Christina Grimmie had just finished performing at the Plaza Live in Orlando, Florida. The singer and former The Voice contestant had spent the evening meeting fans after her concert, taking photos, signing autographs, and thanking everyone who had come to support her. Around 10:24 p.m., as Grimmie greeted fans at the merchandise table, a man approached her, posing as a fan. Without warning, he pulled out a handgun and shot her multiple times. Grimmie's brother, Marcus, immediately tackled the gunman, preventing him from harming anyone else. During the struggle, the attacker fatally shot himself. Grimmie was rushed to Orlando Regional Medical Center in critical condition. Doctors fought to save her life, but the injuries were too severe. Christina Grimmie was pronounced dead just hours later. Investigators identified the attacker as 27-year-old Kevin James Loibel, who had traveled from Florida specifically to target Grimmie. Authorities found that he had legally purchased the firearms used in the attack and had no known personal relationship with the singer. Investigators were unable to determine a single definitive motive, though evidence suggested he had developed an obsessive fixation on her. The tragedy shocked the music industry and fans around the world. Christina Grimmie had built a loyal following through YouTube before rising to national fame on The Voice, where her powerful vocals and humble personality earned widespread admiration. Following her death, tributes poured in from fellow musicians, fans, and celebrities. Her family later established the Christina Grimmie Foundation to honor her memory by supporting families affected by gun violence and individuals facing breast cancer, ensuring that her legacy would continue through acts of compassion and service. Next is Whitney Houston. On February 11, 2012, 48-year-old Whitney Houston was staying at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Beverly Hills, California, where she was preparing to attend Clive Davis's annual pre-Grammy Awards party later that evening. Despite years of personal struggles, Houston had recently been working on a musical comeback and was expected to make several appearances during Grammy weekend. Earlier that afternoon, Houston spent time in her hotel suite with members of her entourage. Around 3:30 p.m., after speaking with her family and getting ready for the evening's event, she went into the bathroom to take a bath. A short time later, her assistant, Mary Jones, became concerned when Houston failed to respond. Jones entered the bathroom and found Houston submerged underwater in the bathtub. Emergency services were immediately called, and hotel staff began CPR while waiting for paramedics to arrive. First responders continued resuscitation efforts, but they were unable to revive her. Whitney Houston was pronounced dead at 3:55 p.m. in her hotel suite. The Los Angeles County coroner later ruled that Houston had accidentally drowned. The official report stated that heart disease and the effects of cocaine use were contributing factors. Toxicology tests also detected several prescription medications in her system, though they were not considered the direct cause of her death. Houston's death shocked the music world on the eve of the Grammy Awards. One of the best-selling music artists of all time, she had sold more than 200 million records worldwide and inspired generations of singers with her extraordinary voice. Next is Juice WRLD. On December 8, 2019, 21-year-old Juice WRLD, whose real name was Jared Anthony Higgins, arrived at Chicago Midway International Airport aboard a private jet after traveling from California. As the plane landed shortly after 2 a.m., law enforcement officers were waiting to search the aircraft after receiving information that it might be carrying illegal drugs and firearms. While the search was underway, Juice WRLD suddenly began experiencing a medical emergency. Witnesses reported that he collapsed and suffered a seizure inside the airport terminal. Emergency responders rushed to the scene and transported him to Advocate Christ Medical Center in Oak Lawn, Illinois. Despite efforts to save his life, Juice WRLD was pronounced dead shortly after arriving at the hospital. The Cook County medical examiner later ruled that he had died from an accidental overdose of oxycodone and codeine. Authorities recovered multiple firearms, prescription medications, and marijuana from the private jet, leading to charges against several members of his entourage, though none were charged in connection with his death. The news devastated fans around the world. Juice WRLD had risen to fame with hit songs like Lucid Dreams and was widely regarded as one of the most influential artists of his generation. His music openly explored themes of mental health, addiction, and emotional pain, resonating with millions of listeners. Next is XXXTentacion. His real name was Jose Duane Ricardo Onfroy. On June 18, 2018, he visited Roiva Motorsports in Deerfield Beach, Florida, to shop for motorcycles. Shortly before 4 p.m., after leaving the dealership in his black BMW i8, he was stopped at the exit by an SUV that blocked his path. Two armed men got out of the vehicle and approached the driver's side. They demanded his belongings, including a Louis Vuitton bag containing cash. A struggle followed, and one of the attackers opened fire, striking him multiple times before the suspects fled the scene in the SUV with the stolen bag. Witnesses immediately called 911, and emergency responders arrived within minutes. He was transported to Broward Health North, where doctors attempted to save his life. Despite their efforts, he was pronounced dead later that afternoon. Investigators identified 4 suspects, all of whom were eventually arrested and charged in connection with the robbery and murder. Prosecutors said the attack was a planned armed robbery that turned deadly. In 2023, 3 of the men were found guilty of first-degree murder and armed robbery and were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The news of his death sent shockwaves through the music world. Despite the controversies that had surrounded his life, he had become one of the most influential voices of his generation, with songs that explored depression, loneliness, and personal struggles. Next is Mac Miller. On September 7, 2018, he was at his home in Studio City, Los Angeles, preparing for an upcoming tour. That morning, Miller was alone in his bedroom. His personal assistant arrived at the house shortly before noon and found him unresponsive in bed. The assistant immediately called 911 and attempted CPR while waiting for emergency responders. Paramedics arrived within minutes and continued life-saving efforts, but they were unable to revive him. Mac Miller was pronounced dead at the scene. The Los Angeles County medical examiner later ruled that he had died from an accidental overdose caused by the combined effects of fentanyl, cocaine, and alcohol. The news of Mac Miller's death devastated the music world. Known for his honest lyrics, musical versatility, and personal growth as an artist, he had earned the admiration of fans and fellow musicians alike. Next is Aaliyah. On August 25, 2001, 22-year-old Aaliyah finished filming a music video in the Bahamas. The R&B star and actress had spent several days shooting the video for her single Rock the Boat on the island of Abaco. The shoot had wrapped, and her team was preparing to return to Florida. A small twin-engine Cessna 402B had been chartered to fly Aaliyah and her crew back to the United States. However, the team had accumulated significant equipment and luggage during the video shoot. Everyone wanted to leave that day, rather than wait for a larger aircraft. Around 6:45 p.m., Aaliyah and 8 others boarded the small plane at Marsh Harbor Airport. The pilot was 30-year-old Luis Morales III. The Cessna began its takeoff roll down the runway. The plane lifted off, but immediately struggled to gain altitude. Within seconds, the aircraft crashed just 200 feet from the end of the runway, slamming into the ground and bursting into flames. All 9 people aboard died. Aaliyah was killed on impact. Investigations into the crash revealed a cascade of negligence. The aircraft had been loaded with approximately 700 pounds more than its maximum capacity. The team's insistence on taking all their equipment had doomed the flight before it began. Additionally, toxicology tests showed the pilot had cocaine and alcohol in his system at the time of the crash. Records revealed that Luis Morales was not properly certified to fly the Cessna 402B. He had lied about his qualifications. The plane itself had questionable maintenance records. Every factor that could go wrong had gone wrong. Aaliyah's death at 22 robbed the music world of one of its brightest rising stars. She had just completed filming the Matrix sequels and was at the peak of her career. Had anyone insisted on waiting for proper equipment, a certified pilot, or a larger aircraft, Aaliyah would have lived. Instead, impatience and negligence killed everyone aboard. Next is John Lennon. John Lennon was the iconic Beatle who helped ignite the British invasion of rock music in the 1960s. He co-wrote legendary songs like A Hard Day's Night and Imagine that have been inescapable in pop music. His death sent shockwaves around the world when it was announced on Monday Night Football on December 8, 1980.
John Lennon, outside of his apartment building on the west side of New York City, the most famous perhaps of all of the Beatles, shot twice in the back, rushed to Roosevelt Hospital, dead on arrival.
A crazed fan seeking fame named Mark David Chapman sat waiting for the legendary Beatle to emerge from the Dakota, his famous apartment building on the Upper West Side of New York. When he did, Chapman shot him in the back and shoulder. As Lennon's body lay bleeding on the New York sidewalk, the doorman turned to Chapman and said, "Do you know what you just did?" He excitedly replied, "I just shot John Lennon." Creepy. As Howard Cosell said on Monday Night Football, John was quickly transported to a nearby hospital where he was declared dead on arrival. Another conspiracy. How about the death of Elvis Presley? The first American rock star and arguably the most iconic musician since Beethoven and Mozart, Elvis Presley is one of the big guys for sure. He was also an early health influencer, getting a polio vaccine before his appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show to encourage Americans to get vaccinated against the disease. Unfortunately, his healthy behaviors ended there. Elvis became nocturnal, a prescription drug abuser, and a potential food addict. Get this, he once flew his private jet across the country to Denver, Colorado, just to eat the Fool's Gold Loaf sandwich, a deep-fried peanut butter and jelly and bacon monstrosity that came in somewhere around 8,000 calories. It was this extreme lifestyle that ultimately did him in. Elvis died on the bathroom floor of his Graceland mansion of a myocardial infarction or a heart attack in 1977, likely contributed to by his heavy prescription drug abuse. Next is Amy Winehouse. Amy Winehouse was a British musical icon who became a mainstream success in 2006 because of her album Back to Black, which contained the hit song Rehab. Unfortunately, the lyrics of "They tried to make me go to rehab, but I said no, no, no" were tragically ironic as Amy suffered from substance abuse and related conditions throughout most of her adult life. In 2011, she was found dead in her London home from excessive alcohol consumption. She is a member of the Heartbreaking 27 Club, a group of pop culture icons that all died at the age of 27. Next is Tupac Shakur. Tupac Shakur was a key figure in the establishment of America's 1990s gangsta rap movement. His activist message in music and film shined through, speaking truth to power about corrupt policing practices and America's prison industrial complex. On the night of September 7th, 1996, Tupac was in Las Vegas, leaving their arena after watching a Tyson fight. Tupac was then hit in the chest 4 times in a drive-by shooting by a hidden assailant who sped off. Tupac died 6 days later. The case ran cold for nearly 30 years until 2023, when Dwayne Davis was arrested and charged as the ringleader of the group that carried out the murder. Unfortunately, this was just one of the many high-profile gang-related killings in the 1990s, followed by that of Biggie Smalls, or Notorious B.I.G., legally known as Christopher Wallace. He was another pioneer of the 90s gangsta rap movement, reviving the East Coast rap scene in my old stomping grounds of Brooklyn. He actually dropped out of high school to sell drugs, but he was also bursting with natural talent, earning him a Grammy nomination and opportunities to collab with Michael Jackson. It was highly suspected that this East Coast rap revival ultimately led to his death, as Tupac was a West Coast rapper and Biggie was from the East. He was just 24 years old and his murder remains unsolved. Next is George Michael. George Michael was a British pop star who blew up thanks to MTV with this massive hit, "Wake Me Up Before You Go Go" by his band Wham, which went on to become the first Western pop band to tour China. In 2016, George was spending the holiday at his home in Goring-on-Thames, England. As the day went on, friends and family became concerned after they were unable to reach him. Later that afternoon, his partner, Fadi Fawaz, discovered the 53-year-old unresponsive in bed and immediately called emergency services. Paramedics arrived at the home shortly afterward, but there was nothing they could do. George Michael was pronounced dead at the scene. In March 2017, the Oxfordshire coroner announced that George Michael had died of natural causes, specifically dilated cardiomyopathy with myocarditis and fatty liver disease. Next is Sophie. Sophie is the Scottish musician and producer who has become one of the most influential figures in experimental pop music, pioneering the hyperpop genre and producing for artists like Madonna and Charli XCX. On January 30th, 2021, it was just a normal day for 34-year-old Sophie in her third-floor apartment in Athens, Greece. Around 4 a.m., Sophie climbed to the roof of her apartment building. She had brought a camera, intending to photograph the full moon that hung bright over Athens. The moon was particularly luminous that night, and Sophie wanted to capture its beauty. As she moved around the rooftop, trying to get the perfect angle for her photograph, Sophie slipped. She fell from the roof, dropping 3 stories to the ground below. Emergency services were called, and she was rushed to a hospital. Doctors worked to treat her injuries, but Sophie died from the trauma of the fall. Next is Prince. Prince was one of the most talented musicians in history, known for his incredible songwriting, unforgettable performances, and unique style. He gave the world hits like Purple Rain, When Doves Cry, 1999, and Kiss. But in April 2016, his life came to a tragic end. Staff at Paisley Park, Prince's home and recording studio in Minnesota, found the 57-year-old unresponsive in an elevator. Paramedics tried to save him, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. Fans around the world were shocked because Prince had been performing just days earlier. An investigation later revealed that Prince died from an accidental fentanyl overdose. For years, he had suffered from severe hip pain caused by decades of energetic performances. To treat the pain, he believed he was taking Vicodin, a prescription painkiller, but the pills were actually fake. Instead of Vicodin, they contained fentanyl, a powerful opioid that's about 50 times stronger than heroin. Prince had no idea the pills were counterfeit. Investigators later found more fake pills at Paisley Park, leading authorities to believe he never knew they weren't real prescription medicine. Prince became one of the most well-known victims of the fentanyl crisis, showing how dangerous counterfeit pills can be. Next is Lisa "Left Eye" Lopes. She was a Grammy-winning singer, rapper, and songwriter, best known as a member of the legendary girl group TLC. On April 25, 2002, the 30-year-old was driving a Mitsubishi Montero SUV on a highway in La Ceiba, Honduras, where she was filming a spiritual documentary and recording music. Several passengers were with her, and a camera was recording their road trip. As Lisa drove along the highway, another vehicle appeared ahead in her lane. She swerved to avoid a collision, but the sudden movement caused her SUV to lose control and roll over several times. The camera continued recording as the vehicle tumbled before the screen went black. Lisa died instantly from severe head and neck injuries. Her passengers survived with various injuries. The recovered footage captured her at the wheel just seconds before the fatal crash, making the tragedy even more haunting. Her death ended TLC's hopes of fully reuniting, and her bandmates were left devastated. Next is Randy Rhoads. Randy Rhoads was one of the most talented young guitarists in rock history. Best known for helping launch Ozzy Osbourne's solo career, his incredible guitar skills can be heard on songs like Crazy Train and Mr. Crowley. But in March 1982, his promising career came to a tragic end. On March 19, 1982, the 25-year-old was touring with Ozzy Osbourne when the band's tour bus stopped overnight at a property in Leesburg, Florida. The next morning, the bus driver, Andrew Aycock, decided to take a small Beechcraft Bonanza airplane parked on the property for short joyrides. Although he had flight experience, his pilot's license had expired. Randy, despite being afraid of flying, agreed to join one of the flights along with the band's tour manager. As Ozzy Osbourne slept on the tour bus below, Aycock decided to play a dangerous prank by flying the plane low over the bus to wake everyone up. After making one low pass, he came back even lower, but this time, he misjudged the plane's height. The left wing struck the tour bus, sending the aircraft out of control. The plane crashed into a nearby mansion and exploded on impact, killing everyone on board instantly. Randy Rhoads was just 25 years old, and his death remains one of the most tragic accidents in rock history. Those were some of the most heartbreaking pop star deaths that shocked fans around the world. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.